Hello, my name is Artur Grzeszczak. I'm TechQA at People Can Fly. So I would like to talk today about a special improvement plan that we've been working for years in PCF. And just a disclaimer before I start, because my personal experience comes from code side of game world, but the improvement plan that I will be talking about applies to all dev areas. So we have our DevQAs for level design, we have them for narrative, for running tech. So just for clarity, this process applies almost to every section. Okay, so I think we can start. So first of all, the idea for this talk came to me one of the game dev events like this one, where I was talking with people around the booths, and one thing really surprised me. So while pretty much everyone was hiring, looking for people, sure enough, the thing is, almost everyone was looking for as experienced people as they can get, so senior developers, which, sure, no-brainer, right? Simple enough. But the thing is, at that time, I was asking on behalf of a friend who had a lot of experience in particularly that was 3D, 2D art and animation, commercial experience, but not in game dev. And they wanted to jump in. But they couldn't because they had no know-how how to jump in. And so I was asking if people are looking for something like this and how this kind of person can jump to a dev position. So the answer were fiddly at best. So the two main ones I got was first one, well, start as a junior dev. Okay, fair enough. Two problems with that. First of all, that still requires some knowledge. He would need to know where to start. So if someone is starting completely from nowhere and doesn't have some support, just their direction in which to go, it might be difficult. Second, and the major one, problem I had with this is, yeah, that's fine, but again, not many people are looking for junior developers. So that might be an issue. So the second path I was suggested was to go through QA, which was much more familiar with me because this is a similar path that I took. But again, there's a problem with that. And the problem is the tasks that QA handles. So the issue is that tasks that QA handles well, completely different from the tasks that are handled by developers. So while he will be there, he will gain some insight into game dev, he will not be improving in the direction that he's interested in. So this was a problem. So again, those are the only two options. And when I asked people around, so okay, so to find QA, okay, that's simple. So what kind of improvement plans do you have in your company? How do you help those people? You have a talented guy. He wants to go up. He has some skills. So what do you do with this talent? And again, I didn't hear any kind of satisfying answer. And that was surprising for me. Most surprisingly because at that point, I was already in a process inside People Can Fly that was that the aim of this process was to extract the talents from the QA mostly, but not only, and to help them improve and move to the dev positions, while at the same time being a help to the company itself and to a work process. This. point this. Okay. Okay. So what is the plan? The process I'm talking about here is basically putting another position between those two roles. And what I'm talking about is, of course, the DevQA and the TechQA positions. Not a completely new concept. I know some companies do have those positions, and from now there's some differentiation how they are used. But I think the people Confy actually nailed this process, and we are constantly improving this. It's already over 5 years that we use this process with great success. So to have the idea how it helps and why it's basically a risk-free process, I need to talk a bit on what exactly do we do. So generally, the concept is very simple and straightforward. So since we have two positions that need to work together, because, of course, QA works closely with the dev teams, there's huge disparity between the skill levels between those two teams. And because of that, there's a huge amount of tasks and roles that need to be handled that basically are too difficult for QA without prior training. And if we put devs to handle those tasks, then we are taking them from more advanced, more difficult tasks that they were already doing. So we are pretty much wasting resources. Because even if the task is simple, it may, of course, be something like for 5 minutes of work for a senior programmer. Sure, that's 5 minutes to do this, but he needs to change his mindset. He needs to check the documentation of what he will be working on, and it stacks. And that's not like just one thing. There's multiple, and those low-level, low priority tasks, there's usually a bunch of them, in hundreds of them. So to fill that void as an additional bonus when we are putting the additional role there is, which we didn't actually expect, was improving communication in the company, because we now have this missing link, a person who has enough technical knowledge to discuss the issues with developers on almost even terms, but also has the working knowledge of QA, how the QA works, what information they need, because that priority was a bit of an issue, because the information and the requirements that was requested between the departments didn't always match. So devs knew what they want, but for example, QA didn't know how to provide this, which wasn't always so obvious. Right. Let's go to the next one. So this is basically what it does. And now, why this process cannot fail? So basically, this is now I always repeat that this is something that has no way of failing, because simply we are improving our team. We are making our QA more technical, knows better, improving communication. And the thing is, even if, for some reason, this process completely stops, we decide to not pursue this anymore, the time that was spent on this is not wasted, because they were doing their work in the process, because they are learning by doing the tasks provided, and we end up still with the QA that's more experienced and has more technical knowledge. So there's nothing that we are losing by making our team more experienced. So now the main part. So how this started and how this worked for us, because those are just previously very basic information. So just putting someone saying that we add something in the middle doesn't tell much. So for us, because this process needs to start somewhere, of course, right? You just don't pick up a random person. So in our case, we started with code, then we moved further to different departments. So the main thing we needed and we found was an ambitious person who wanted to move to the code team, had actual programming knowledge, worked with the editor, because our QA sometimes does that, and was ambitious about this and pushed the idea. So what you need to start this process is actually an ambitious person who wishes to move to that position in the first place. Excuse me. And this will be your anchor. So that's a tricky part, because what you need, ideally, is someone not with just desire to advance. Just wanting to get something is not enough. What you need is someone with the experience, some technical skills, good technical skills, ideally seniority and communicative skills. And I will talk in a while why that's also important. And basically, the more of those skills the person has, the faster the process will move forward and the more efficient it will be. And because there will be a lot on his shoulders, we need to choose that person wisely. Okay. Okay, so then if we have this person, we have chosen one guy who wants to move forward, has been doing some work on his own, he has the general idea. Then we move him from the QA lead that he was under to a department lead that he will be working with. So it can be a level designer lead, it can be a code team lead, basically the place he will be working with, because he will be receiving the tasks now from directly the devs and working more closely with them. And the beginning should be actually quite simple, because in the beginning he should be getting the general tasks on the start that QA already handles just from this department. So he needs to, that's why the seniority is important, because at this point he probably worked a lot already in the QA on those tasks. And the good idea, for example, is before you move the guy, you can talk with QA lead and just tell him to give more of those tasks while he's still there to this guy, so he gets used to them. So this is a first step. So at this point, he should be familiar with the work that he's doing. But he is working now with closer to the dev team and gathering experience. So what you don't want definitely to have is to start with someone. That's why I've said the seniority is important. You don't want to start with someone who has skills but haven't worked on those issues, because from the beginning you need to start gathering trust from the dev team. Because from my experience, generally devs don't want when QA touches their toys, and you want to change that mindset. So once you are there, the next step is to what I call specialization. So you already are doing the work you usually, but for example, QA usually provides very basic information. So for example, there's FPS drop on certain areas. Now, since you're on the department, you don't want to just give that. You want to give not only the area, maybe what is causing the drop, what location, what kind of asset is problematic in the editor. So basically, you are trying to make your reports as detailed as possible. So when you're giving information to the dev team, you're not just giving some general idea that they will need to investigate anyway. You want to give them exactly what they need to start fixing the thing. So you are specializing, you are improving the work. Additionally, if there are tools that, for example, developers use to gather additional stats that QA doesn't use, or something that they require but that the QA couldn't provide, you discuss this and you try to provide this as well. And in addition, this is very important, while you're doing this, we're still talking about this single guy. He needs to keep the documentation. If there are tools, and I've seen things like where people are using commonly known tools to gather some additional information, that of course QA was not aware because it requires something in the editor, and they didn't usually use it. And it's common knowledge. It's not common knowledge if you come from QA. So you need to keep those information, document them, document every requirement, because this will be the basic for the future. You're not building just your own path. You're building a foundation for the future. Every next person will have much easier job and provide better results because of steps that this person is doing. So the documentation. Documentation is very important. Okay. Now, once we have that, we have the basics. We have some basic information, what we want to provide. We have knowledge how it should be provided, what the people want to receive. Then we can start moving with more people. So additional dev or tech QAs for the team. And this is a place where path can divulge depending on the situation, because not every department requires like 10, 12 dev QAs, depending on the amount of work that's there to handle, the size of the team, the project. It can vary. So generally what we use is if there's like 2 or 3 people, dev QAs, then we leave it as it is. So they work with the department lead. But if there's more, so for example, our code team has much more people than that, then it would be a good idea to give them a separate lead, because at this point, it would be bothersome for the department lead to handle more additional people. We want to keep it efficient, so less running back and forth between them. And the good idea here, additional one, is actually to suggest being a lead for our first guy. So he already built the foundation, he proven himself, and this is why I mentioned the communicative skills. So he knows what needs to be done. He already worked with the dev team. He has his contacts. He knows what's expected and knows what's expected of the work that they will be providing. So he can explain the things that will be that the new dev QAs will be handling, and then he can help them start providing the results that are expected. And again, this is a process. This, as I've said, lasts for over 5 years in People Can Fly, and with each year it's better, and we have more documentation. The implementation lasts faster, and we have also implemented some differentiations, which I would like to talk I will have a bit of time later on. But focusing back on the on the process. So now we have few people in the team. We have some basic documentation, and we are providing exactly the information that our dev wants. So they don't have to do any asking on their own part. So what now? Because that's too close to QA, and we want to close the gap. So now, because we have gained the trust, because we are helping both sides, actually, QA also, but we are helping directly our dev teams, they can rely on us. We are providing, making their work easier. We can slowly move to simple dev jobs for the team. So starting from something like cleaning client ID or fixing broken blueprints, up to, in our case, already writing the automated tests and writing tools. Because as we will go on with each successful change, with each successful implementation, with each successful work done, the trust will grow, and the team will know that they can, and will be less scary to provide the tasks. That's the main difficulty in the beginning, if I were to ask, is to convince the developers that those people can do this, and they are capable of the job. Okay, that's mentioned. Sorry. Okay, now the success ratio. This is actually, I was wondering how to present this because there's multiple approaches. I choose this graph because this one shows a healthy status in our company. This is status as of today. And so what this presents is an interesting situation where we have number of tech dev QA promoted, so people that have been moved to dev positions or already our full-time developers that moved there in less than 2 years, and we don't have like time limit or anything. Just it happens that everyone that is in this group moved to that position in 2 or less years, something less. We have new active tech and dev QAs, which we are trying hard to pull from QA or other sources, which I will mention in a second. And the third group is the tech and dev QA that are over 2 years. And each one of them is already a senior in our team because they have reached a level of competence and skill that is almost unmatched and easily exceeds junior or even mid-position developers, but they are not moving for various reasons to dev positions. Either they are liking the place they are and want to specialize there, or from some personal decisions. But each one of them already is almost irreplaceable to our teams. Okay. So additional thing about this process that is, I know I was asked about this one time, is because people were scared of trying with a new department because, again, separating people from the team and while the team still has work to do is not necessarily a good idea, but the plus side on that is you have people that are not stuck in one place. They are in the middle, but that means they can move to the left or to the right. So, and it happens to us. One day you can have your tech QA helping QA running some issue retesting because they need some manpower. And the second day they will be writing automated tests. They have skills to do both. And because they work with both teams, general climate, general feel in the company also improves. One, because our devs can pass the requirements easier, and the QA has someone to talk to ask, someone not as as technical as programmers who can easily explain the issue, and not only that, but they can look up to these positions as their next step in the career. So let's go quickly through sorry, advantages of having this over new hire. So, because of course, now the main thing is this is not a completely replacement for hiring process. What we are talking here is someone on a skill level of junior, maybe regular. We are not comparing those people with a senior position because that would be simply unfair. They are new to this. What are the advantages of this process? So first of all, the people that are going through this process, they know the company structure. They know the people that they will work with, the tools that we're using. They are used to this environment in general. In addition, which I cannot stress enough how important it is, they have usually QA experience, allowing them to predict problems. And this is very important. This is, I've heard many times from leads that the developers usually have problem with predicting some potential problems. So they have also experience working with other devs and QA at the same time. And that's also important because when you will have a person that already knows the people from QA and they need to communicate because there's a problem, it's much easier. They will be supported by the previous team. So remember, this developer, this future level design, will work with DevQA solving those problems. And this is his old team, his old teammates. So that increases the work efficiency a lot. They prove this is again another important part. They proved their competence and skills by completing this path. So when you are recruiting new person for a position, there's one thing that no matter how good you are as a recruiter, you cannot check, and this is what is the person's work culture, how it's to work with him, how is he as an employee. There are some things that can be proven only over time, and you have this laid on the table with those people. You know them. You know not only they know the company, but the company knows them. So you know what kind of employee he is. He not only you know he is a good employee, he managed to pass with limited experience from QA to dev positions. He worked hard. This is not something that is being rewarded just by staying over some time in this position. You need to prove that you know what you're doing, and you have all the chances in the world to do this, and all the support, but you need to still do it some steps yourself, and you have a person that actually proved that. And the last one, which I also like, is they are less likely to change work, and this is also in our short, because 5 years maybe it's not that long experience, but the fact is you are rewarding this person for his hard work. And if you are rewarding someone for his hard work, they feel good about it. They don't want to, or why would they change a company that helped them actually? Why would you want to do that? So that's a good point. Now, for the less fortunate, so where's the catch? Because, of course, as I've said, this is risk-free, and the process basically cannot fail, but because something cannot fail, doesn't mean it has to succeed. So there are a few problems that may happen, and we also have struggled with this, with some of them. So first of all, which is can be a major problem, is you can run out of candidates for QA because for DevQA, sorry, because there are some requirements for this position. You need to know how the basics, even the basics of engine works, and you need to want to go this career path. So if someone doesn't want to work in code, you can force this person. It won't work. He may be able to do some basic tasks, you'll teach him, but the process doesn't work. Just at some point, first of all, the guy will be unhappy, and the improvement rate will just disappear. At some point, he just will stop improving. So it's not exactly resource wasted, but you can find someone who can complete the path and be of much help to company and to himself. So so we don't want that generally. Second, you might not have tasks for DevQA. And this, again, depends on the size of the team, type of project you are doing. At some point, it may happen that for certain departments, of course, there's less work. Now, this is less of an issue because, as I've said, the Tech and DevQA is flexible. So even if there's no work, especially specifically from devs, they can still help your QA jump in and help them. But again, that will not help in their general improvement. The third point is kind of optional, but additional mentoring may still be needed to move them to dev positions, because the tasks alone, while they're mostly prepare them for this, there might be a bit of a step. And usually, from what we've experienced in PCF, this wasn't a bit of a problem. It's more like if you want to make it faster and more efficient, you may want to just add someone to give them a few hints here and there, just do a quick run through the work that they will be doing. What we usually do actually in this case is just start adding them more and more difficult tasks, which is better. But if those are not available and we want to help someone, it's an option. This is definitely a possibility. Sorry again. And the last one, which is quite obvious for someone, this is a long time investment. This process it doesn't kick off immediately. Sure, from the beginning, you will reap rewards of going through this path, because it's not like you are losing this person, you are making it more, while he's of course learning, you are making it more useful for the team and for the company. Sure, but that takes time. And we are moving, ideally, we want to move slowly, because we are building the basis for the team, and we are building the relation and gathering trust. And you don't gather trust in 2 days. So it takes time, and it is what it is. Well, sometimes we just need people right now. So we may not decide to, well, how about this process that will provide us some resources in like maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It will get better over time, sure, but we need them now. So of course, that's the setback that I've met multiple times. But about this, and this is the point that I wanted to mention, just waited for the end. How much time do we have? Oh, went too fast this time. What we do right now, because once we had the foundation, it's not only the QA that we actually are involving in this. What's also something that I've noticed many times is when people have actual experience, actual knowledge, like the friend that I've mentioned, but not enough for the dev positions. But they already have skills, and we have multiple people who wanted to start in People Can Fly as developers, but instead of offering them, because they didn't unfortunately match the requirements for the junior, we offered them, instead of going to QA, we offered them, because again, we already had the basics. So we offered them, listen, QA would be a bit of waste of time for you. We have a TechQA team. They are already doing similar tasks as our junior devs. You will start from something smaller. You will they will teach you. You have all the documentation already available, and you will slowly move up. And the thing about those people is that 3 examples from code team that I know were able to move to dev positions in less than a year. And they are already a huge asset to our company and doing amazing job. So this is actually not necessarily a long process once it kicks in, but you need to build to this point. Okay, I rushed a bit too much this presentation. I was worried that I will finish too quickly. So I think we can go with the questions now. Sure. Good question. Good question. There's 2 things about this. First of all, actually in game dev, I will divage about this. In game dev, QA is very specific for the game dev because it's a place that not necessarily, but where you can get in with passion, more passion than skills, and you build up skills. When we talk about tech positions, that won't work. So in QA, you have various people. You have people who wanted to start their journey into game dev, because that's the easiest place to start, let's be honest. And there are people who just are happy, are equally good in their job, but just are happy with being QA. It's fine to wanting to be a tech QA, fine to be a QA. If you're feeling good at your position, that's good. Now, about the difficult jobs. For once, you won't lose all of them. That's just our experience. It may vary, but the thing is that the more technical stuff that QA already handles will slowly move to Tech and Dev QA. So those people will be able to focus on different kinds of tasks that do not require technical skills. So sure, they may lose the people that have those skills, but they will not have to handle them at this point. So we are shifting the jobs a bit here. Anyone else? Sure.
There are many different people in quality assurance, and not all of them have studied IT. So how many of them, without that programming background, are able to achieve the position of tech QA?
Actually, I'd say we are talking strictly about in this moment about tech QA, because dev QAs are. I didn't explain the difference actually. Maybe I'll do that in a second. But the only department that hardly handles the code is TechQA in our company. So I'd say 60 to 40 people who started had the coding strictly experience, but it's enough. It's good to have it, and it's required. It's completely required for some type of task. But many of the tasks in editors, especially, just need to good knowledge of the editor, not necessarily code. So you can go along with that. If you start with editor, and I'd say even the knowledge of the editor is much more important than the code, because you will handle editor every day, and the coding tasks are usually the more advanced when you start doing the dirty work that no one wants to in the code do. The cleaning up of the code, the backlog of 1,000 tasks that are not breaking the game, are not much important, but at some point someone should handle them. But yeah, it's not a necessary task. Sure, if you have it, it will be better. Sure, and at this point, for example, we have people with who are magicians in the editor, but have limited knowledge in C++. So they are working as our seniors because their skills in the editor on handling, for example, AIs, things like that, are almost unmatched. So you can make a career this way, sure, but you will not pass the bridge. You will stay there, and you may be happy there, and they are actually happy. They are one of the best specialists. But if we are looking at this as a way from one point to the dev positions, then that won't be complete. You can still do a career. You don't need to have this. But again, that is one part that's required in this position. Now, I will just jump in and quickly explain, because, sorry, the naming differentials in companies. What I understand by DevQAs, DevQAs are usually people who to work on our projects, exactly, and like DevQA for level designs, for narration, for animtech. And the TechQA works on our framework and works directly with our code teams. Multiple consumers, it's AI, it's basically everything that code related.
Okay, thank you. And last one question, but you partially answered them. I wanted to ask, what is their role in the team? Where are they exactly? They are part of the QA teams, or they're part of the dev teams?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Maybe I missed it.
What is their role in the team? In which teams they are present?
They are in tech team. They are in our team. They are tech QAs.
Okay, but you mean they have their own teams with?
No, they are part of our in the current way that we are handling teams, and this shifts, of course, over years, and we had changes. They are still part of our tech QA teams. TechQA team, but who knows, maybe we will make them as separate, like especially for AI, because they are mostly AI specialists. But right now they are part of the team and they work with us, though they usually get the certain type of tasks that are sure difficult, but are in their area of expertise. We already are, even within our team, because this is a bit of a one of the bigger teams, we have kind of grouped people into some specializations, which also will help later on when they will be moving to code. But actually, what we also try to do is, even with that, mixing the tasks, because once you need to maintain some level of quality, so we still mix the task and give different tasks to people, just not keeping them in one place, because that's also bad practice, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for the talk. I have a question regarding your approach, because you have mentioned that TechQAs, DevQAs, however you at the moment you've called them, they're a similar role to a junior programmer. In essence, you have a QA and you put them up with new skill sets regarding coding, regarding handling the editor, depending on what your needs are. I'm curious, have you considered maybe an opposite approach? Have you ever considered that maybe regarding dev teams, regarding coders, audio engineers, etc.? Is it worthwhile also to improve their skills in the QA area so they can also at least address those tasks?
That would be actually something to ask to our dev team leads. But in my honest opinion, that's not the way to go. Sure, this is improving skills still. I don't look at this like improving down, for example. This is the different path. But even within the dev positions, there's always place to improve. So if you want to go up, there's new technologies, new solutions, new ways to handle things. If you want to improve, if you are already in dev position, most people, from my knowledge, want to specialize in that, get even better at what they're already doing. And of course, we are maybe not, teaching someone is not a good word for this, but we work with our dev teams to provide clearer requests for the QA. Again, it's not their work. They are skilled and they can provide value for the company in different ways. We don't want to use those resources to look for the issues. Right, we have people for that. This is why we have multiple teams, and they try to. The game company is basically one big clock, and we have those mechanisms that should work together, not trying to replace one another. This one is actually not. This process is not replacing someone. It's adding additional mechanism that helps connect to other, so they work better. Teaching devs to handle QA tasks, I'm not sure if that's the proper way. We do some of this. It's not like this is ignored, but that's a difficult thing to do, I think, because they basically will want to, sure, they want to improve in different direction, and while you can request to provide certain level of requirements when working with QA, you just, I think you cannot push them too much in that direction. And of course, there are internal testing. When you are providing, making content, you need to obviously run the test yourself. This is a requirement in People Can Fly. But the fact is, QA is better at this. QA is better at finding problems and knowing where to look for them. I couldn't even count the number of times where the developers were sure that, hey, I fixed the problem. No, you didn't. I fixed it. I can show you didn't. Sure, go around. I've checked this. It doesn't break. I'm 100% sure. 10 seconds later, okay, I will fix it again. It happens constantly, and just QA is each is specialist in their area. We don't have to mix them too much because we have already great teams for this work. So does this answer your question? Or?
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure, thanks.
So this is an interesting approach to the problem of the QA and the devs, but do you think that this same approach could be used in other branches, like for example, taking someone from the art department and making him more technical, so he can be this kind of bridge between the art team and what art team needs and the developer team?
Excellent question. Actually, in all the version of this presentation, I had this mentioned because we had example like this. It wasn't exactly placing someone in the bridge, but we had a person who wanted to respecialize. If I remember correctly, that was actually from our team to code. And of course, those are as separate as the QA and code. There's very much difference. That was before the program kicked in, but he was actually put in similar position, especially for this guy, because this doesn't happen often. Let's be honest. That's a very rare case. That's why I removed this actually from presentation, because over years we had one example of this. But yeah, he had an issue where he was still doing his old job and slowly moving to the new one, getting new tasks, slowly more and more advanced. Now this was more problematic because he didn't have the support of documentation. This wasn't a pre-designed process, but it's actually possible and it can work. Now, I cannot provide information what would be the success ratio. That one time it worked, but that's one example. So again, with success ratio, counting on this would be difficult. But yes, this is absolutely possible. I'm just not sure if doing a special plan exactly for this kind of process would work, because the TechQA relies on constant flow of people. So because people want to move forward, and as they move forward, we need to get new one. If you end up without people at some point, because everyone moved to dev positions, and in a year you get a new person, it will be difficult. It will be not impossible, because the grants are ready, you have the documentations, you have the people who went this path, but a lot of things will have to be started from again. That's why important. I've mentioned this. I'm gonna jump. That's why I mentioned this graph. Ideally shows the healthy relations, because you have almost exact percentage of people who move to dev positions and new ones. This is a constant process that moves along. It's difficult at sometimes, exactly because it's hard to find someone. But because you are talking about situations that's much rarer, it might be difficult. It's possible, but might be difficult. So absolutely. Actually, if you had this, again, we didn't have this process in place, so I'm just assuming. But if you have the basis for the process, so for example, you're moving, let's say we're moving from art to programming. You have the TechQA already in place, you can convince them to move to TechQA positions. Now, the basic problem I see with that, if you have a regular or senior art developer, he might not, well, how should I put this to not sound very skeptical? Let's say the wages of devs and TechQA are not the same, and I'm not sure how the deal with the company would have to be, because he will be starting almost from the ground, but probably would want to, if not, keep his old wages as a regular senior developer. And that potentially could be a problem. And again, just guessing the potential issue is the process. But the process alone is completely possible. He would actually have much better, much easier job moving if there would be department like this already in place, because he can reap the rewards of the people that build it and use every resources available. But that's a very specific scenario. So much easier if you have already something like this, but even without the structure, it's possible. Sorry for a long answer, but that's a very, very specific question you've asked. So anyone else?
The last chance? No, so thank you, Artur.